What are we fucking talking about tonight? We were just talking about it. I don't know. Do your thing, Paul.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies. We are at the midst of, we're getting close to the end of the year. Very shitty year that we're all ready to get just out of the way. And
oh man, I want to speak on that almost a little bit. So I thought about that today too, coming home, and I was like, how many people think 2020 is shit? But if you scroll back like 70 years, you wouldn't want to be living in the 1930s. You'd still take 2020. I think we end up bitching a little bit too much, and I don't think we realize how much opportunity that's around us too.
No, we for sure.
You know what I mean? Like we underappreciate.
We take stuff for granted, but
so much.
But at the same time, it's all relevant. You're comparing it to your own experiences, and 2020 has been a shit year for everybody. Yeah, I'm not saying I would rather live in 2020 than like 1930, obviously. But at the end of the day, this is the life that we know. This is the life that we were, grew up in. 2020's been shit. The weird thing to see will be if in 2021, like, do you think that everybody's going to have some kind of mental reset where it's like, oh, it's a new year. This is going to be a good year. And we have that placebo effect or self-fulfilling prophecy where we make it a good year. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah.
Where mentally you make it a good year for yourself by saying it's not 2020 anymore.
I'll hit up Neha and see if she wants to come on. We'll fucking talk about it. That'd be interesting.
I love that girl. She's legit as fuck. But that's literally some thought process that happened through my head today, like just driving in my car, because I was upset about shit. I'm hungover as fuck from Friendsgiving last night and all that, and I'm like, man, how bad has this year been? But then I think not enough people just zoom out a little bit, you know what I mean, and actually look at shit, and there are so many things to be appreciative of, like even having like
well, you say that,
you
man, and it's easy for us to say that living in Missouri and where it's really relaxed when it comes to COVID restrictions. You wouldn't be saying that, and we wouldn't have had the night we had last night.
I don't think he's just talking about COVID either, though.
I see what you're saying, though. Zoom out. I'm just saying it would be hard to appreciate this year if we're in the same situation that started in March.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
That's all I'm saying.
But I think we don't spend enough time being thankful for, for the really good things that are around us, and they almost get washed over by all the bullshit. And
it's very easy to do that. You're completely right.
It's way easier to be negative than positive.
There's a conspiracy theory going around, and there's an article that you can read. And I'll try and find it, Johnny, and send it to you. That there's a chance that Trump could use. I don't know if it's the Insurrection Act or something other than that, to where he could actually shut down all social media and TVs and just only broadcast off the emergency broadcast network due to all the propaganda and shit that's going on. What I'm saying is it's hard to be thankful when all people are just consuming just the amounts of propaganda, and be thankful for those things that you're talking about that get washed away so easily when we have these at our fingertips and we're constantly just looking at negative aspects of life.
It's just easier to take stuff for granted these days.
Yeah.
We're so immediate pleasure, instant gratification. We're so instant gratification at our fingertips constantly that it makes it that we take the easy living going things, for granted.
Yeah, and I asked Jesse before the podcast started, I was like, hey man, when my girls turn 18, I would like to just go out into the wilderness, and hopefully like you two are both married by that time, and we can all just have 6 of us just go out and build a fucking cabin and live in it for a year and just appreciate nature and the beauty of it and experience that type of life. You know what I'm saying?
Each other's families, man. You get so sick of each other after a year.
No, but you have to appreciate the wilderness because you have to eat off of it. No, you have to live off of it.
Actually, I agree with you. I told you when I went to, so I was never that, man, I've been a nerd my whole life. I like shooting hoops, playing basketball, playing baseball and all that. I was never good at it. I've never been a sports person, other than watching sports. I've never went hiking until Jesse and I and Trey went out to Utah and Colorado like a year and a half ago or whatever it was. And then I would have never thought that I would have been down with that. I've been camping before, and I'm like, okay, it's nothing special. It is what it is. But, dude, I, genuinely enjoyed being out in Utah, being out in nature, hiking and going on the trails and doing all that stuff. I loved it. I was all fucking about it. And it literally made me have, a mental, a change, where I'm just like, holy shit, this is something I can get down with.
Yeah.
There's something about experiencing the inverse of your daily life which is important to experience because then you don't fully grasp it, but then you're like, oh man, this is something special. Also, not how I'm living my life, but this is also a way to live life that, and you just get to experience the inverse.
And maybe it's because I'm getting older too. Because like I said, when I was younger, I did go camping, but it was I didn't like going camping. I didn't like being outdoors that much, but I did like going hunting. Like I went hunting and I enjoyed that.
Going with your family though and shit, or even if with your buddies.
Different. That's what I'm saying though. Me getting older and doing, I don't know.
And it's in Missouri, and it's just, Missouri's cool and it's beautiful in its own nature or in its own aspect. But when you go to Utah, man, and you've never been there, and I remember we moved to Colorado for a little bit when I was like 10 years old. My mom met this guy on the internet. She went out there for a week. She's like, yeah, we're packing the bags from Kansas City. We're moving to Colorado. And I'm like 10. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I remember seeing the mountains. I didn't fully understand what they were at the time. I just like, holy shit, those are big. I'm young. That looks really cool. And experiencing it when I was a little bit older, you're right. It is.
I think that's what I'm saying is that I appreciate it more that I'm older, because the older you are, I feel like you almost you don't technically have less freedom, but it feels like you have less freedom because you're so limited by everything in life. Your job, your marriage, your kids, everything limits you to being stuck like, hey, I have to work 50 hours a week. This is what I have to do. I get vacation once a year if I'm lucky enough to work in a job that provides me with vacation, all that. The rest of the time I'm taking care of my kids, hanging out with my wife, doing all that. Not that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying you are, in a sense, kind of less free, even though you're not. Because when you were a kid, you weren't free at all. You had to live under your parents' roof. You were, you know what I mean? Like, you had rules set in place for you. Now you can do whatever you want. But I think being older, you get to appreciate that more. So like you said, moving to Colorado when you were a kid, it was whatever. It was cool, but it was whatever. As to where, like, now you have your life that you live where you do have a set of rules you have to follow and these things that you have to do every day. You have to go to work. You have to pay bills. You have to take care of your family. So when you get that moment to go experience nature and to go do that kind of stuff, it hits harder now.
There is nothing like better than going on a camping trip and then like for 7 days sleeping in a tent and sleeping in a sleeping bag and then being on like hard ground and you still feel the hard ground. Even the last time that I went camping, I did have an air mattress, but it's still
that bougie life.
Yeah, I was living the bougie life in the tent. But there is something special about coming back home and sleeping in your bed again, to where you sleep in your bed every night, but you don't appreciate that shit. You don't realize your bed only feels good, like really, really good, after you haven't slept in it and you've been sleeping in a tent, on an air mattress. I use the air mattress because you want to be level off the ground to where you don't get super cold, because it was cold in Mount Evans, which is just awful. Cold ground, you can't even fucking sleep. So you want that space. But there's something special about not having what you're used to having and then going back and you really appreciate it.
Grass is always greener.
Grass is, and then all of a sudden you respect it so much more, and you're like, oh man, I just get to be warm tonight and I have a TV. Like, this is so cool. And then it goes away after a day, and then you just get back into it.
Honestly, that just plays back into what we started the podcast with, which is taking stuff for granted.
Yeah.
You take your bed for granted. You take your house for granted because you're there every fucking day.
And I think sometimes it takes getting away from that.
You take your job for granted. I bet people took their jobs for granted in COVID.
100%. And I think, and you take a lot of things for granted, for sure, but it's only going to get worse. And the only reason I say that is because we're about to enter, and this is something that kind of just hit Johnny yesterday when we were at Friendsgiving. We were having some great conversation about what the podcast would be.
Shout out to thanks Blake and Courtney for letting Friendsgiving happen at your place.
Oh, they don't watch this shit anymore.
Yeah, but they might.
Just in case.
You never know.
Just in case.
But anyways, it's for what we're just talking about. I think it's only going to get worse. And again, this is something new that we've kind of just discovered, and it's not something new and it's an epiphany or anything like that. But we're entering a subscription-based life.
Yep, that's what I was talking about yesterday. Subscription-based life.
Yeah, and I think that anyone who listens to Talk Junkies kind of understands that, but to put it into a bigger presentation or a bigger perspective, Johnny, I think you could probably...
Okay. Yeah, I can break it down real quick. So basically right now, I feel like I was just thinking about this a little bit ago. I think you can almost live your entire life right now 90% subscription-based, to where you don't own anything. Everything you do is off as a subscription. So you've already got, let's just start with the stuff that you've already got. You got Netflix's subscription, so that's your TV. You got YouTube Premium or YouTube Red, if that's your thing. You got Spotify, all these things that we've had for a while that have always been subscription-based. You have your cell phone plan. You can lease a car where you're not owning the car, you're leasing it and you're renting it. You can rent a home. Instead of buying a house, you can just rent a home or rent an apartment. You also pay property taxes even if you do own a home, and property tax is kind of a subscription-based thing for the government in a sense. You can have Blue Apron or all of these other companies that send you, which if you don't know what that is, they send you a box every week, and it's got food with recipes on how to make stuff for every night of the week. You can have your meals planned out for you and sent to your house for fucking $100 a month or whatever it is, $30 a week. I have no idea what the pricing is, but that exists. You can have Amazon Prime, a subscription-based thing. You can now, the new Xbox that just came out for any like gamers out there, the Xbox, you can actually own it on a subscription-based thing or lease it. You don't even have to go pay the $500. Like, you go to GameStop, you don't have to pay $500 to bring home the console. You can only pay $35, and then you just pay $35 a month for the next 2 years or 3 years or whatever it is, and you're renting that off of a subscription. Literally, other than having to go to the gas station to get gas to put in your vehicle and having to buy water, there may be a subscription service for bottled water sent to your house right now. I know for sure you can get it off of Amazon, not as part of a subscription, but you can order it. You can pay per time. You can be like, I'm going to pay $3 for this case of water. I'm going to pay $10 for this toilet paper. I'm going to pay for this, whatever. You've got Dollar Shave Club where they send you razors and stuff like that, and they can also send you shampoo and conditioner and everything. I literally think that right now, it's possible to live 90% of your life subscription-based everything.
Well, and you made a good point.
And one day it'll be 100%.
Yeah, because you made the other 10%. They're putting they're taking steps to enter into that 100% that you're describing. Because, like you said, you can go to Walmart, you can go to Hy-Vee or Price Chopper, tell them what you want.
You can order. You can order it online,
or they'll even deliver it to your house. But eventually, you're right. They're going to take steps even further than that and be like, "Hey, if you pay us $50 a month, this is the package you're going to get."
Get the Hy-Vee Premium, which is where you pay us $300 a month, and you get your groceries. You put up like Netflix back in the day. Some of y'all will remember this. Some of you younger and you won't. But Netflix back in the day, you had a queue for DVDs. They would send DVDs to your house, and you had a queue. You had a queue. You didn't necessarily always get the one that you wanted right away. Sometimes they'd go 3 deep in the queue or 5 deep or whatever, but they would send you a movie every week or as soon as you sent one back. So maybe you have a list or a queue on Hy-Vee.com or Price Chopper or Walmart or whatever, wherever you live, and you've got a queue of all this food you want for the month, and they literally send you that food.
Yeah, different.
And you pay the subscription. Maybe 1 month. So it's $300 a month, and 1 month you get $380 worth of food. But the month after that, you're actually only getting like $220 worth, whatever it is. It doesn't matter because you're paying it as a subscription. You're paying for a premium.
We should be marketers for fucking grocery stores, man. Damn.
No, but I think they're working towards these things already, and we don't. I think that us as a society maybe don't realize how much, because like it sounds so simple when you're like, yeah, everything's been subscription based. I've had Netflix for a long time. I've had Spotify for a long time. I've leased. I mean, not me personally. I'm saying as the audience, like I've leased cars, whatever, blah blah blah. Like, but you can literally do it with everything. You don't want to go to the grocery store? Get Blue Apron. Pay $30 a week or $60 a week to have them send you food. And I'm not saying this is a good thing. I don't want this to sound like I'm saying this is a good thing. No, I'm saying it's the fact that you can do it right now. That's just crazy.
No, technology is something that we cannot evolve quick enough to be able to handle. And the big portion of this, and we have Mike Anderson on all the time talking about tribalism and separation of America and all this. This only worsens it because the problem with this is you're able to sit at home as long as you want and feel comfortable. And I get it. Like, I have anxiety too. Like, sometimes going out, like, I get anxiety. I don't want to deal with other people and all this. But there is something constructive about going out and experiencing and interacting with other people. Whenever you lessen it by just having everything, subscribe to it. Oh, man, it's just going to show up at my door. I'm being taken care of by this corporation. This corporation's, my lifeblood for all this. And I can literally sit in my own biome, and just be me here. It creates this huge separation because you need to see how you need to interact with other people, and so many negative things happen through that because human beings are meant to interact with each other. Like, the only way shit gets done, you could be angry at anybody. like Middle Eastern people, whatever, like people of different beliefs, even in America, like being Republican and then talking to a liberal, the best way to do it is actually to be face to face with that person. And then you find out in the end that, man, you're just a person like me and just trying to figure shit out. And it really takes it away whenever you're given so much opportunity, which is easy. It's the easy route is, oh man, I just want to sit in my house. I just want to have everything, brought to me, and I only have to drive to my work and only experience these people. So I only have to know how to interact with these people. And then it just creates this weird separation, which only makes things worse right now, in my opinion.
I completely agree. And when you think about it, and I know Mike had brought it up in a podcast that you only remember like 168 people or whatever, if you know what I'm saying, whatever that analogy was. And we were just talking about how is it a bad thing if there are too many people? But I don't think that's ever the case, especially in what we're talking about right now, because you're right. If you're focusing on individualism and that's really all it is, and you're just in your own bios, I can't say it, biosphere, whatever it is, and that's all you're about. And like you said, interact with only the 10 people that you work with, and that's it, because of this subscription-based life. What are the implications, I'm saying 50, 60, 70 years from now? Or someone who's born into that and doesn't know the life before that. And they're drawn into just individualism. And they don't know how to interact with people. Like, I think
people different than them.
Right.
The big issue is, are you able to interact with somebody who's different than you?
The implications of a subscription-based society, I think, are profound. And I think that it's something that should be studied.
Also, the fact that you would own nothing.
Yeah, and I think that's my next question, Johnny, is the fact that is that the bigger picture, right? We're talking about what it would mean to a human being like you or I. But what's the bigger picture when it comes to a subscription-based society? Is it the plan? Because honestly, now that we're talking about it, it kind of seems that way. Is the fact that, and Wolf, thank you for commenting on all our videos, man. I appreciate it.
Wolfflow.
Wolfflow, greatly appreciate you, man. You always, every single podcast, dude, I love you for that. And I love you because you're cool. But this kind of ties into what the World Economic Forum wants with the Great Reset, is the fact that they don't want us to own anything. And this kind of seems like this is what they're using.
What do we really own? Like, what do we really own?
You don't own much due to property taxes and stuff like that, but you can still own things. There's still stuff that can be yours.
But like Johnny said, like with the Xbox, now, I mean, you've always been able to lease an Xbox with QVC and shit like that, but now Microsoft is getting involved, and they're cutting out the middleman because they want to make money.
They're making it like a phone is the best way I can describe it. If you're out there and you go through Sprint or T-Mobile or AT&T, any of these, you have this like iPhone Forever or Android Forever plan where every single year you upgrade. So you pay a monthly. You don't actually own the phone. You pay your phone bill of $90 a month plus the extra 25 or 30, whatever it is for the phone, and then every year or every year and a half you get to upgrade. They're now doing that with the Xbox. They're making it like a phone. Also, I wanted to throw out real quick because we were talking about it, and I was like, wait a second, I think they tried this, and I looked it up. Burger King had a subscription service for their coffee. They tested it out. It was $5 a month. You can come in as many times as you want and get a small hot coffee with cream, sugar, however you want it.
Weird.
It's called the BK.
So weird.
BK Cafe. But think about it.
Burger King coffee is not good.
Let me finish. Hold up. It's Burger King. You're right. It's pretty fucked up, and it's weird for them to think of it. But what about Starbucks?
That's so weird.
What about $15 a month, and you can get what's their small? A tall?
A tall, yeah.
A tall. So you can get a tall, and they have like a limit of drinks, right? So like it's not just coffee. You can get like frappes or whatever else, but they've got a basic limit. So you can only get a regular mocha frappe or bullshittuccino, whatever it is. And now, you know how many people would pay like, $20 a month and I just get unlimited Starbucks? Subscription-based Starbucks right there. Like so many places could do this.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. And we're leaning towards that. Like that's happening. Perfect proof. Burger King, of all places, was testing it out.
Burger King coffee. The best coffee, in my opinion, is Waffle House coffee.
This is going to sound weird because I haven't been in a long time, but I remember working there when I was a kid. Arby's has fire-ass coffee. I know that's weird as shit. Arby's has fire-ass coffee.
Waffle House has fire-ass fucking coffee. But I will say
because I'm always drunk every time I go to Waffle House.
So I don't think it's so much about ownership, because if you get down to like where I'm going to come from real quick, and I'm going to try to do this right. I don't know if I'm going to do this right. But I get the mentality of ownership and shit, but we we naturally don't own anything. You shouldn't have that mentality to where you own something because we're limited human beings. But the idea that we're tossing this away to a corporation that can just own things on paper and government can own things. Owning something is really weird to have.
You own your TV, bro.
You know, so I get the competitive nature back between like people should own things. Like, no, I don't. Well, yeah,
You own
I
it.
paid for it.
You own it. You don't pay for it every month. You own it.
That's okay.
It's yours. You can do whatever you want
I
with
get
it.
it in that sense, but ownership's weird whenever you have a limited lifespan, and
You still pass it down to your kids.
Yeah.
That's the point.
I don't. But okay,
It
So
loses
a
value
T-
because it's a fucking TV, but
TV is really simple.
So Jesse,
you're getting more philosophical.
whenever
Whenever you're talking,
I don't. So maybe
whenever
maybe,
your parents die, you don't inherit any of their rental properties.
But-
it just goes all to the government because they're on a subscription based tenant place.
Which the government tries to own things too, and I think why are you trying to own so much shit? Like, I don't know.
you wouldn't want to own land.
I mean, I would like to be able to be at a place with land and like a pond and shit.
I see what you're saying. I think you're just getting.
fish.
I think you're getting a little too philosophical
Okay.
with it
For-
about
okay,
ownership
so
and like.
maybe that's where I was going to get wrong.
Oh, you
because
can't
people-
take it with you. Like, why did the kings and the pharaohs put gold in their tombs? You don't own it. You can't
You
take
don't-
it with you.
you
You're
don't
dead.
own it
I'm not
after you're
talking about
fucking
that
dead.
though. I'm talking
Like-
about society now, the way we live.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was going off on a wrong thing, which is kind of how I felt whenever I started it, as far as ownership goes, in thinking about your place and.
Well, I think
This is mine.
That's a great question, though.
Okay, so that's the big one for me, and I'm gonna get over it at this point. But don't ever think, man, this is my shit, because then that becomes an issue. Like, you can work really hard for something and fucking
Talking
have
about
it.
materialism, basically.
Yeah, and you're almost being too material as to where, man, it's everybody's involved in this.
So a good question
It's-
would be,
especially like Native Americans and like whenever people came in and they didn't understand the idea of ownership. Like, no, man, like land, like, no, this is everybody's. No, you can just, sure, you're gonna give a shit, and then you get land, but then next thing you know, it's actually like set property lines, and then they start defending it. And
Well, that
oh,
also
man,
depends.
now
That
this
also
is-
depends on your culture, because, and I could be
That's-
wrong
and
here.
that's how civilization
Were they
comes up.
highly? I really don't know. I'm going to sound like an idiot, because I'm sure there were some tribes that were and some tribes that weren't. But back then, I feel like a lot of people were highly nomadic, where they moved around a lot.
Yeah.
So there was no reason to own land, because you didn't have a territory. You may be there for a few months or for a couple of years, but then your entire family, your clan, your tribe, your group would move. It was a very nomadic kind of time. And I'm not just talking about Native Americans. I mean, everywhere. Even Europeans back in the day would, like,
it's very territorial. Yeah, I mean, they still had boundaries, but it was
Anyway,
it was a
I
massive
probably-
territory.
I
But I
probably
think-
went off on a.
you went in a
shit.
weird material.
I think
I
because
get what you're saying.
the
I get what
problem
you're
is,
saying.
but the big problem is the government owns everything.
That's
It's
the-
really not the government.
What-
It's really corporations.
What benefits? What does it benefit the governments or corporations with a subscription-based society? What's the benefit for
Oh, it
them?
highly benefits them. Okay, so right now,
Then they get to control it all.
it's not just control. It's all about, well, it is control, but it's money and power, and money kind of brings in power. Money brings in control, and vice versa. Power brings in money. Like I've said multiple times on the podcast, I think everything comes back down to being about money. So think about it. Your paycheck, you get a paycheck, right? Every 2 weeks, you get your paycheck. Let's say you make $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is. 2 weeks from now, you get a $2,000 paycheck. Well, some of that money comes out of it because of taxes. We've talked about that before.
Subscription-based, yeah.
That's subscription-based. Now, these companies, if you're subscribing to everything, that means they have ownership of part of your paycheck. Right off the bat, you don't even get to make the choice because you've already chosen to just subscribe to this lifestyle. I'm going to subscribe to Blue Apron. They're going to give me my food every month. I'm going to subscribe to Amazon Prime. That's where I'm going to get all my movies, Netflix, Spotify. I subscribe to my car because I'm going to have a lease on it. I have a lease on my phone. I'm going to have a lease on this. I'm going to go to Rent-A-Center and rent my dining room table for whatever fucking reason. Blah, blah, blah. Now, all these... So what do they get from it? They get your paycheck. They get your money. And it's guaranteed because you're on this subscription service. They don't have to fight and advertise for you because once you're a loyal customer, you're a loyal customer. They don't have to sell you on the new products every month because you're already in. You're in the... That's why subscription services work. That's why Microsoft's made so much money. They've been doing it for years. Xbox Live and Windows 10 and all this different, like, tech companies have been doing it for a long time. I think that these now tech companies have been doing it for a long time, but now it's everyone else is doing it too. Everyone else is catching up, like Blue Apron, like these other things. Next thing you're gonna know, you're gonna have a Walmart subscription service, Burger King and their fucking coffee, Starbucks starting a coffee thing. Everything will be, hey, at the end of the day, when you get your paycheck, you have already determined that you've spent 90% of it on subscription-based stuff.
Right. I mean, a lot of people are probably already over 50%.
I look at how much you're subscribed to. I mean, I've tried to cut back, but I mean, I have Netflix, I have Spotify, I own my car, I don't lease that. I do lease my phone. I didn't pay the $900 to buy this phone. I did the iPhone Forever or whatever. That's a subscription service.
Sounds really cool, right? iPhone forever.
Yeah.
Forever?
You're talking about just
Like, you know what forever is, right?
So he's
No, also, just real quick, whenever you subscribe to something so they know that they have your business, they no longer have to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what they end up or are able to do is, man, we already got their fucking business, man. So, like, we worked really hard to get the subscription from them. Now that we have it, dude, we could fuck them over. Like, and how much can we drain you of shit whenever they have to come back here because they paid the upfront amount of money for a subscription?
Which
you think you're getting
will.
a deal.
You know they'll do
What's
that.
crazy is, and I know salesmen, never trust the salesman. Never, no matter how good honestly, the better it sounds, the more you need to be worried about where you're getting fucked over somewhere. Car salesmen are the worst, but I'm not going to go down that fucking road. Car salesmen.
That's a whole podcast in and of itself.
Yeah, my hatred for car salesmen. And if we have a car salesman listener, you can listen to a different fucking podcast. Like, once you have their business, then all of a sudden, how much can we get from you and manipulate this fucking scenario? So that's where subscriptions, I think, is what you're talking about. It really creates a weird scenario, and you just have the human flaw in there.
Yeah, there's a reason Amazon
it's the human
Prime's
flaw.
successful. There's a reason this Game Pass for Xbox is successful. There's a reason. Why do you think Netflix is so successful? Netflix makes billions upon billions of dollars. How many people do you know right now, the random viewer, how many people do you know who aren't subscribed to Netflix? How many people do you know that aren't subscribed to Netflix?
I don't subscribe to Netflix,
But you use someone else's subscription,
use
which
somebody
is
else's.
it's the same thing. Now instead of, you know what I mean? Like, you're just, instead of $15 a month for one person, it's $15 a month for two, which basically just equals out to $7.50 a month a person. Like, it's still.
Are there any benefits to a subscription-based society other than the fact of convenience?
I was going to say convenience and pricing. There is pricing benefits and convenience, but there's so many more detriments as well.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Whenever you think something, man, you're like, oh, dude, this is the best deal ever. You don't think there's some negative in there somewhere where it's really just, oh, man, they're really wanting me to have the best opportunity, or, man, they're really helping me. No, they're helping themselves. You just don't realize how they're making their money.
Well, and I think, like, with a subscription-based society, I think that would also be a detriment to small business. Like, I know that there would be some small businesses that could thrive and they'd be smart and be able to be a part of that type of society, but I think ultimately it would definitely destroy small business.
Dude, it's so...
it would deteriorate small business heavily.
To talk about small business real quick, coming into Lalu... I'm going to say the name wrong.
La Lupitas?
Yeah,
La
that's so
Lupitas.
good, man.
And then just watching the fucking dude cook my food and having that experience, and then everything right there, and the food's fucking amazing, tacos fucking amazing, at this little tucked away Mexican fucking place, and the food's so good. The people, literally kids are running around in the background. You see the fucking family. Like, it's so, man, that's such a cool thing that we take fucking for granted, which will probably be fucking...
Those places will get run out of business.
Yeah, they'll get ran out of fucking business. And then what are those? I don't want to go down that fucking road because it's really fucking depressing. I'm not trying to get depressed. But you need to be careful whenever you sign up for some shit and fucking and think about, oh man, it's just super convenient for me. When actually it's probably really negative somewhere else too. I'm not saying that all of it.
When you...
Dude, because, man,
But-
I'm going to watch Netflix whenever I fucking go home.
For
so
sure.
I can't fucking talk too much shit about Netflix.
But remember, there was a point in time in our life where we didn't have those options, and we were going to Blockbuster, and we were renting movies, and we were
so
going...
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you would talk to talk to somebody and they'd be like, "Oh man, I saw that movie," and then you get to interact with them about
Yes.
The Hunt for the Red October or fucking whatever movie you're looking at.
Blockbuster was like one of
And
the
then-
coolest places to go to, man. Just video games, movies, and if
Yeah,
they,
it was a
it
blast. There
I
was
think-
something about like, oh man, I'm a kid, but I'm going. Man, Friday we're going to fucking Blockbuster to rent shit for the weekend or whatever.
You
Like,
don't even have to leave your house now.
If my mom let me rent a video game, I was having the best weekend of my life. I had the OG PlayStation, and then if I went in there and I was like, "Mom, can I get a video game?" She'd be like, "No." And then the next weekend she'd be like, "No." And then one weekend she'd be like, "You know what? You can get a video game this weekend." That was so cool. That like going there, picking it out, excuse me, coming back home, putting it in, playing that video game. Dude, that's so like such an intense memory for me. And it was so fucking cool. And I had to interact with all the shit. But my biggest issue with the whole thing is that we no longer have to interact with other human beings, which we only have worked off of interacting with other human beings. And I hate that separation, basically.
Yeah, because
with how things are.
think about the process of everything that's not a subscription base. Like you have to leave your house, you have to go. I mean, granted, credit cards have made easier for payments and shit like that. That's I don't know if that you would consider that a subscription base.
it is for sure.
Yeah.
Credit cards.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, or even a debit card to use it to pay your water bill, or just I guess it is because you sign up you sign up for auto pay, which is kind of like a subscription base. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
that's a little. Yeah.
I'm just saying for the aspect of human interaction, as opposed to going to the actual place or even mailing. I mean, I don't know.
The difference between debit and cash, though, is not.
What I'm saying is like all these things take steps, and they require you to have human interaction and meet people, new people, different people, and the odds of meeting someone new and making a relationship are extremely more higher than a subscription based society. Is what I'm saying.
100%.
No, if anybody, I have done no research on this, but to show me that technology has not negatively influenced human beings as far as how they socially interact, like I would be amazed. Pull up some shit where technology has enhanced human interaction, realistically.
Make sure to subscribe to this podcast.
Yes, definitely do that.
Talking
Oh,
about
man.
subscriptions.
I didn't even think about that.
but it has, and we talked about it through the internet and video conferencing and video calls, and you can meet new people, but who really uses that to meet new people? You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna stick with your friend group and shit like that. Where were you? I don't know what you're trying to say.
No. The whole thing that I was saying is you're not able to experience somebody else, and like we will not on an evolutionary level interact with people like eye contact, super important. There's something about looking somebody in the eye and then be able to hear them talk as opposed to like anything else. We just, with everything that's going on in the world and everything that you're able to just have access to through the internet, is you don't have to socially interact anymore. And I'm not saying it's going to make people socially inept. I mean, probably down the line it will, but it just puts you in a bubble.
It already has,
It
man.
puts you.
I was gonna
puts you
say
in
it
a
kind of
bubble.
already has.
I guess with everything, there's good and there's bad. Because I'm not completely, I'm like, oh man, get rid of all technology. That doesn't make any sense because then you wouldn't be able to hear me talk.
I think that technology was put in the wrong hands, or somewhere down the line something
Well, it's
happened.
manipulated.
Yeah,
It's been manipulated.
it could be
and-
used in a good way, and it is
maybe-
used in good ways. But for the overall purpose of society, it's not used in a good way.
And maybe not even fully manipulated, but the idea that we take so long to adapt to something, and technology adapts exponentially quicker than human beings adapt to things, that now it's outpacing us. And I think that, oddly enough, I think that we're that first generation that, like, I'm a millennial, and I remember the 90s whenever you tried to get on the internet, it sounded like they were killing a small animal in my fucking computer to be able to get it to work.
All this
This is
weird
awful.
fucking
This
shit.
is awful. I still don't understand why that fucking happened. That doesn't
dial
make any
tone?
fucking sense to me. Yeah, you're connecting
Because it went
to
through
a
your phone line.
phone
Yeah,
line, fucking
landline.
all this shit. And then now everything's like right here in my fucking pocket, right in front of my face, to where I think I can have a social experience, which is really, really bad. If you think that you're having a social experience watching just people fucking do things, you're really not able to break through it all. I think we need to be around other people
You can't make a memory on
to
your
fully
phone.
grasp.
You can't make a memory watching TikTok videos.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I think that's it's
I think, dude, really heavy for me. I think a lot of systemic racism fucking comes from that shit. Is because you think that you know, but you don't ever get around and actually hang out with these people. Because that's the best way to fucking get rid of it. You just hang around them. Everybody, you realize people are fucking human beings only whenever you're able to hang around with human beings. If you can sit back in your house and just watch them over a screen, you end up able to be so judgmental. And it's super easy to do. I do it. I straight up do it. And I have to like catch myself and being like, man, this is such a far layer from actually who this person is. And if I actually were around, I wouldn't even be saying the shit out loud that I'm saying right now. Like, you know, all this. It's much more meaningful to be involved partially in somebody's life physically, like just being there with them. And then all of a sudden the tone changes because we're all fucking human beings in this. I don't know.
Think about it from this aspect though, like and for everything what you're describing right now, it's only going to progress in the other way, in the way that we don't want it to. And if we do enter a subscription-based society, what you're talking about is only going to get exponentially worse at a very quick and rapid rate. And that is not a good thing because you're looking this year with the elections.
There's nothing to stop it.
Yeah, there's nothing to stop it. And you look, and you talked about earlier, divide and conquer. And that's like the oldest play in the book. Like that's the play that Bill Belichick would go to in the Super Bowl. Every single Super Bowl game when they're down by 3 points with like a minute left and Tom Brady's in there, they're going to use divide and conquer every single play, you know, in that instance. And this is what's happening. And I've never thought about it until you brought it up last night, Johnny. And now that we're having this discussion today, and Jesse, how you're putting light to it on social interaction, how important it is to society, that it's only going to progressively get worse at a rapid rate is scary, very, very scary. Because what the topic tonight of a subscription-based society, I don't think it's a question if it's going to happen. The question is how fast is it going to?
We're already on the way. We're already on the way.
Because 2020 has been so weird, and everybody had to self-isolate almost for like,
and that made it
for like 4 months.
That made it easier for
It's
subscriptions.
been different for everybody everywhere.
Yeah, but so it's weird not interacting with other human beings, and we definitely need to.
But it's weird because now people are getting used to it.
Yes.
People, I've even noticed it. Jesse,
And
did I not tell you? Did I not tell you a couple of days ago?
Dude,
that 2 days in a row, I tried to go to like Price Chopper or whatever to get groceries and stuff, and I was literally like it was like right before Thanksgiving, and I was like, man, I don't want to deal with this many people. I made the mistake of Thanksgiving was on Thursday. I need to go get groceries on Wednesday. Like, that's not going to happen. I literally rolled up and left. I didn't even go inside. I was like, I'll get groceries Friday. And then I was like, shit, I'm not going to do it today either because it's Black Friday and everybody's out here. I'm like, I don't want to see that many people.
Man, I don't know how to.
And that's got nothing to do with COVID, but it's got nothing to do with COVID for me in the sense of it's like, I don't want to see that many people because I'm scared of COVID. It's got nothing to do with that.
You're saying somehow subconsciously,
though, I'm so used to not seeing a lot of people all the time.
I am too.
That it has now made me more introverted.
And
we used to go, us as not you as much, Paul, because you got the kids and stuff, but like Jesse and me, we would go to the bars all the time with a group of our friends. You know what I'm talking about? Like there'd be a lot of us going out and doing stuff all the time and being social, going to Jose's, drinking on the patio, hanging out, doing stuff. Like that shit never happens anymore.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, and it's, in my opinion, it's really negative because you're taking away such a core aspect of how human beings go about things. And man, if I know one thing about human beings, myself included, I did say human beings, is that if you give us enough time to where we start thinking that, oh man, my bubble's the right one to be in, then it becomes extremely dangerous. And the only way you get over it is to talk to other people and try to, walk in somebody else's shoes for a little bit. And the only way, nobody else really does, but it's interacting with them is where you get at least a little piece of it. We haven't even gotten that this year at all. So it's a very dangerous thing. We can never lose sight of that. And then all of a sudden everybody's over here. And then everybody's over here. But I'm in my own shit. And I want to do this. And, oh, man, fuck whatever you say. And I don't ever have to really face you about it either, which is the biggest fucking issue. I can say whatever the fuck I want over this mic right now. And then somebody who disagrees with me, all they got to do is type it in. What kind of exchange is that? Like, I want to, like, I guarantee you, any argument ever, if I'm able to sit in front of you, at the end, I'll be able to hug it out with you. Like, no matter what. Like, and that's what we miss. We miss that end. Like, the ending result of how human beings have always done shit is, man, we'll argue, we'll fucking butt fucking heads about shit, and in the end, some resolution fucking happens, and we're able to hug it out and realize that human beings are human beings. You get rid of that aspect with how things are going socially right now because of COVID and technology. I would honestly say more because of COVID than technology, but technology.
Well, yeah, because I mean, and now with COVID, like you're putting even more device between people, and whenever you get online and these people have their voices, and you're not able to do it in person like you're describing. You get that idea of, man, like this person's way far left and I don't agree with anything they're saying. So then you don't even want to have any interaction with that person. And then whenever you do see them in real life, you're like, I really don't want to talk to you because I don't agree with what you said online. Then you sit down,
which
and talk
is ridiculous.
But then you sit down and talk to them, and then they're saying the same shit that they say online. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is it's actually entered our bloodstream, and it's actually affecting us within the human aspect of human interaction. And it's making it even harder for people to connect on that level that you're describing, which is still good that you're having that interaction for sure. But what I'm saying is with technology, it's making it even harder when you do have those social interactions with the divide that they put in the system. I don't know.
We as human beings us as human beings need to start being more careful about how we approach things, especially in the given time. Like on every side, you can't. I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know. I'm gonna let this dip set in. Paul, you can fucking talk.
No, I'm just. It's crazy.
I'm not trying to get too emotional or
no, I'm not
because
either.
Guess what? One thing we know for sure is that the sun's gonna rise tomorrow, and we have to keep doing this.
Right.
So us as people need to try to fucking figure this shit out.
It's a big dip, dude. It's got a big old dip in there.
It's really not that big.
Okay. No, it's technology, man, and I think you said it best. And within this whole conversation, what you said at the very beginning is the fact that it's exponentially growing faster than we can even handle it or even keep up with it. And the fact that we're about to transcend into a machine when we're not even fully capable of truly understanding what it is even scarier. But I guess it's going to happen regardless. But
that's kind of the scary future that I see, and this is just my opinion. But I see. Like, we might just be the things to usher in technology, and then, fuck, whatever happens after technology. Like, there could be 800 other fucking tiers of extreme evolution that happens after technology that we can't even grasp, in our fucking head because we can only, like, live in this that we fucking have.
My thing is, I think we're closer now. It's always been a running joke, and I'm sure that y'all out there watching or listening or whatever, and us in here, like, we've probably all had this thought or this conversation or talked about it in the past, even years ago. But it's more real now than ever to think that it's not that far-fetched that one day we truly will be living in this weird combination of George Orwell's 1984.
We already are.
We're going to live in this weird combination between George Orwell's 1984 and the fat people riding around on the chairs with the screens in front of them of WALL-E. If you've seen the Pixar movie WALL-E, then you know what I'm talking about right now. Where literally I do my job, I sit behind whether it's physical labor, like manual labor or mental or computers, whatever. I do my job on my computer. My paycheck comes in, I get $1,000, but 900 of it goes to all my subscription-based stuff. The other 100's to do whatever I want with, and then everything's just provided for me. My food's provided for me. The government takes care of me. Everything happens. It's the most socialist, communist version of capitalism, but it's all done through technology, and we don't even realize we're doing it to ourselves.
Yeah, it's some deep shit, man.
Does anybody here and sitting in front of a mic right now think that we live in a capitalist nation?
It's a false sense of capitalism. I think it's still is still surviving. It's still in
I still think we're in a capitalist nation.
I just think the people that like are anti-socialist really have never stepped back and like looked
at how socialist we are.
Yeah.
yeah, it's very obvious how socialist we are.
We are extremely socialist, and it's weird, but yet we still combat it so hard. Like, I'm not saying us, but a lot of Americans still like, oh, capitalism, and they don't do the research. I'm assuming they just haven't done the research on what's happening.
I think some of it's. I don't think some of it's the research. I think that it's hidden. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
not really hidden.
No, I mean it's hidden if you don't take a step back and think about it.
They snuck that shit in.
Yeah, no, think about it. It's hidden
because I've always said capitalism works.
When you get your first paycheck, man,
uncorrupted capitalism works.
As a 16-year-old, and you get that first paycheck, and then you see all this shit coming out of your check, you're like, "What is that? What is this? What is this? What is that?" And you realize that 30% when you're making $6 an hour, and they take 30%, you're like, "It's not hidden, man. It's right there, right in front of your face." The first day.
But I'm saying you get so used to it that it becomes hidden. The socialist parts of our economy and our society here in the U.S., I should say, or in most first world countries, the socialist aspects are in existence. They just do a good job of hiding it, or we hide it from ourselves being stupid or ignorant about it.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to become more aware of it, more people were to become more aware of it, I think that they would hide it in a different or better way.
Well, the big thing is a lot of people are aware of it.
But I'm not even saying the government hides it. I'm saying we hide it ourselves from ourselves.
The government doesn't hide that shit.
I'm saying we hide it from ourselves. We shield it from ourselves without realizing it.
Well, man, they do a good job of propaganda too.
There's so many people that just want, hey, I just want to be comfortable, and you're giving me this, so okay. You take away this, that's fine. Take away, the Freedom Act, all this. Such a weird thing to fucking call that from the Bush administration.
The Patriot Act or the Freedom?
I'm sorry. What was the Freedom Act?
There was one, but I don't know what it was.
But I mean, it's literally taking away the freedom.
Yeah,
which is ironic. Or the Patriot Act, which is just taking away freedoms. I don't know, man. Shit's rough, but I get it. For anybody that doesn't want to deal with it, no, I totally get it too. Because you only get this one life, and man, I don't want to stir up any shit, and I'm just gonna try to do the best with what I'm given. And this time is also, it's a decent time to live in. Like,
it's one of the great. I mean,
man, time always has its shit. There's always shit to deal with, right? There's always government shit to deal with. There's always manipulative fucking assholes. It's just more. I think my big fear in what we're talking about now is, given how technology is going to be like 20 years from now and where our kids are going to be. I don't have any kids. But I have a lot of nieces and nephews that I worry about. And man, what is their life going to be? And for them, and
we'll
pass
the torch down, man, and those nephews.
And the big thing, you want them to have a better life than what you had.
Well, it wasn't Alan Watts that I was listening to last night. Alan Watts was. I was listening to this video. It was 2 nights ago. Sorry, Alan Watts was talking. It was about life and shit like we're talking about. And then this other guy who I've heard before, but I don't know his name. He was talking about the fact that whenever you have a kid and then you start teaching that kid shit, you know what I'm saying? At a very early age, you need to tell them how to play the rules of this game. Don't let them go to school and play by the rules of that.
No.
Like, you need to teach them at a very young age how to play the game.
No.
That way that they can change the rules when they get older. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's...
I didn't know the game I was playing until I watched Zeitgeist at the barn when I was like 19 years old. I was never into conspiracy. I was never into questioning anything about the life that I live in.
Did I bring that to you? Did I bring that to you?
Yes, you did. You brought it over.
I've still never seen Zeitgeist.
You, me, and then like
I tried
Jordan.
to watch it with you.
And then Sean Schultz.
It's a hard watch now.
Yeah, remember Sean Schultz? Sean.
No, he walked out because
he
of the religious. Yeah, because of the religious things.
But like at that point, that's when I started to understand what the game was. You know what I'm saying? I was already 19 years or 15 years behind.
Yeah. No,
and speaking of that,
so real quick, what I wanted to say is I hate older generations, and I almost catch myself doing this. So this is something that I do, where I look at young people and I'm like, oh man, like, okay, so a really good example. This is the best example I can pull off the top of my head right now. My parents didn't let me have not Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards. I'm sorry, because they saw them being anti-religious. Me as a little kid, I'm like, oh, dude, I fucking love Pokemon. Dude, I was a 90s kid. I fucking love Pokemon. I still love Pokemon to this day. Just Gen 1. Just Gen 1. I don't know all the other bullshit that they started making.
Ice cream
marshmallows.
store and laundry
They started
machine.
making, like, marshmallows Pokemon.
There was
I'm
literally
man,
like a
this is fucking weird.
lamp Pokemon, chandelier Pokemon, laundry machine,
That shit got
vacuum.
weird. Anyway, outside of that, my parents were like, "Oh man, you can't do that." And then I remember like my nephew, like literally my sister being like, "Hey, you know, he's into Pokemon," and I'm letting him have all that shit, and I got a little angry, a little bit. I'm like, "Man, why do you get it so easy?" I'm getting angry because that's what I wanted, but that's not the mentality. I'm like, "Man, it's getting better." That's what I need to. That's all these older generations that, oh, you didn't have it as easy as me, and I'm angry about it. Such a poor fucking bullshit mentality to fucking have. That's how it should be.
Back in my day, I had to
should-
walk 15 miles
I had to go
uphill
to-
both ways.
No, that's the whole point. Is we need to be progressing and getting better. I can't be angry at them because they had it better than me, because that's all realistically, that's what I want. I want the next generation to be better than me. I want anybody that hears anything that I fucking say, I want you to take it through your filter, and then make it your own, and go out and live your life and try to make it better than what I'm saying right now. I can't be angry at that. That's literally the progression of humanity. That's how we evolve. Why are these older generations, oh, millennials are ruining this and that, fucking all this bullshit? No. That's the progression of human life. You cannot be upset about this anymore. Like, if I had a kid, which I don't have a kid, I love my parents to death, but I would hope that I would try to be better parents than my parents. Even though they're great fucking parents. I want to even be better than them.
But even then, that's what your parents want too, though. Your parents
Yeah.
want you to be a better parent than they were.
So this whole mentality of being angry at previous generations because you didn't have it as good, that's the whole fucking point.
Yeah.
Is that not the whole fucking point? Quit being angry at newer generations. And like I said, I get caught up in this too because I'm like, oh man, you get to do
But you
this.
don't
I
really-
didn't fucking get to do this. I would have been so much better. I would have had so much more opportunity if
Weed
if
was
I had
illegal.
that.
Weed was illegal back in my day.
I know. Like all this, I think we need to get away from that and just realize that, man,
I don't think-
especially me almost being 30. And maybe I'm catching on too fucking early. I don't know. But I need to quit being angry at these newer generations and being like, oh man, you have it so easy. You have it so easy and you waste this. And I'm literally in my head, I'm like, especially on a financial level, I'm like, oh man, you're just wasting all this shit. And I feel like I have a little bit of wisdom to give. But for the most part, I need to realize, man, they have more opportunity than me, and that is such a good thing. That is such a good thing. And it's not some sacrificial fucking thing. It's just how we are living a life. Don't be angry at
Well, I think
newer
with
generations.
technology, it's going to happen regardless of what other generations want or believe to happen. Like you said, like you saw it happen within your own family when it comes to Pokemon cards. There was nothing that anyone could do about it. That's just the progression. People can be mad all they want. You know what I'm saying? And I'm right there with you. We shouldn't get mad at that. We should be happy and embrace it 100%.
You know, I just think that that's such a cyclical thing for older generations to start
Bro, you
criticizing
get old,
newer.
you're about to
start-
die. You just want to fucking just be
No, so
Debbie Downer.
that's my thing. Why are you so angry that they have it easier than you? Wasn't that the point?
Yeah, well, that's just...
And the people before us were, you know, or are like my parents, great grandparents will be pissed off at them, be like, "Oh man, women can vote and shit."
well,
I'm
that's
like,
different.
yeah, of course.
That's different.
No,
though.
but that's what it is. She'd be like, great grandmother is just being like, "Oh man, your mom can go and vote. Like you have it so easy. You have it so easy. Look at what I had to deal with." We
Well-
need to get over that.
And we will, man. But we're getting to the end of the podcast.
Anyway.
We do have a little bit of time, but I want to just do this segment again, man. And maybe we'll do it every podcast. I don't know, but I want to hit the philosophy. And
I liked it. I liked it.
We did do a little bit of some philosophy within that podcast, but I just want to get down to some actual brass tacks questions here.
How much are, before we move on to philosophy, how much are you subscribed to right now? Like if you, well, first off, subscribe to our channel because, you know, subscriptions are the fucking bomb diggity.
Yes.
But honestly,
Like,
think
one of
about
those
it. Let us
Jesse-
know in the
It's
comments.
such a weird thing to talk about anti-subscribing,
And then
we're gonna
saying to
ask you
subscribe.
subscribe.
Yeah, no,
And
I know. That's the irony in it. That's why it's, you know, a joke.
But it doesn't cost money to subscribe to our channel.
this.
But, I mean, my
don't
point
know,
is,
I don't
what? Just think about it.
I'm not gonna get
How
mad
much
at
of your life is just, if you had to throw out a percentage right now, how much of your life do you think is subscription based? If I had to throw out one for me, I'd say probably like 30, 40%.
Does that include like
I'd say
being
30%.
subscribed like to YouTube? Yeah, because that takes your time.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Money-wise,
I'm talking
financially?
about financially. How much is on a subscription thing? So
For
like
me-
if you have a car payment, by the way, that's a subscription. If you have a credit card payment, if you've got school loans, any of that, that counts. That's
Yeah, if you're in debt, that debt
yeah.
is
If you're in debt, that's a. But I just mean how much of your
Over 50%
money
for me, yeah.
is a subscription.
over 50% for me.
That includes like your phone bill,
My mortgage.
if you're renting or mortgaging. Like I'd say
not even if you're renting, because whenever you have a mortgage minus the down payment, you're still borrowing money, which is a subscription.
yeah. At least that though, you're paying to own. You
True,
are paying to
and you
own.
can't sell and make a profit. So I don't know if you would count a mortgage or not.
That's equity. That's a little different.
Okay. But a car, even if you're going to own a car, it loses value right when you buy it. So.
It loses
all of
value,
them
but you still
is-
own it.
Is all of America a pyramid scheme?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually
Okay.
that's capitalism.
Man, that's
So
weird.
capitalism's
Okay.
a pyramid
In,
scheme.
in the comments,
that's a whole nother
in the
thing.
comments below, just let us know what your percentage is. If you don't want to say it, then just who knows. But we're gonna enter some philosophy, man. And I don't know why for some reason, man. The past few days, maybe it was last week that sparked it for me. But I've been thinking a lot about not the biblical God, but just God in general. Just God, just the idea of God. And just a few questions just hit me hard, and I'm just like, what would happen if God died? Obviously, we wouldn't know about it. But it's
Or
just
we would, or that'd be the end of everything, and you would know, or you wouldn't know because that would be the end of everything.
Or God dies, and what's playing out now is what's playing out. And it's just going to play out however it's going to play out because now God's no longer in control. So that would be my first question. What happens if God dies? And I know
That's a weird one for me because I don't believe in God.
for sure. But if there were a God and God were to die, what do you... I don't know.
I don't know, man. I can't really answer that one.
There is a philosopher, and I almost wanted to go to Nietzsche, but I don't think it was Nietzsche that said this, so I'm probably wrong on this. But he said, philosopher was talking about God and ultimate power is the only end result over a long enough period of time was that God would kill himself, basically, because that's like the end result of that. But man, that's so like deep.
I know we're not going to have
Man.
the answer. I'm just curious what your guys' question or answer would be.
That's a hard one for me. You just talking about the death of the Almighty, whatever that is, whatever you believe, the Force. If it's the Force,
Right.
like an aura, whatever it is, everything around you
Right.
constantly. I don't know. Maybe we would just keep living our lives the same as we are right now.
Right.
Because in a way, right now, as someone who's not religious, we kind of are our own God.
Oh, let me piss. I'm gonna piss real quick.
And I don't mean as like an idol, as in like a worship kind of way, but I mean like humanity is kind of its own. In my view, humanity is kind of its own God. We dictate our own lives.
Yeah. I don't know. And I was just trying to make sense of it, and the only way that I could make sense of it was there was this hypnotist, and the way that she had described, because not only was I looking for if God died, what would happen, because you can't really, there's no one on YouTube really that you can find a video with. Obviously, I know I'm not going to find the answer. I know that.
Yeah,
but other than a biblical answer is what I was looking for. I wasn't looking to hear someone that is involved with religion trying to tell me what would happen if God died, or you know what I'm saying. I was just looking for an explanation, maybe a scientific explanation, which
I don't know though, because God's not a scientific entity.
Right. But there was this hypnotist, and the way that she put it, and this was how God was created, or how the universe was created, and galaxies and shit like that. And what she had described was the fact that God wanted to know everything. And if God is God, then God would know everything already. But in order for God to experience everything, that was the Big Bang. Like God said, hey, I'm just going to explode, and I want to experience everything. And that's what we're currently living in. I thought that was pretty interesting. The fact that God wanted to know it all, so he just... Or I don't like to call him he. Sorry. So God just blew up and was like, "Hey, I'm going to experience all this shit."
I mean, it's also counterintuitive at the same time, because if you're omnipotent and omniscient, I think that's the word.
Omniscient.
If you're omniscient and omnipotent, you don't need to create a Big Bang to experience everything, because there is nothing to experience because you already know it all.
Yeah.
If you're all powerful and all knowing, then
I'll,
why create?
I'll move on to the next question. Sorry. Is math something that humans created or something we discovered? Is looking at reality mathematically an accurate representation of how things work?
I think it's as accurate as it can be right now to our best knowledge. It's our best guess, our best summation.
Math is more of a language.
Yeah, that too.
That literally okay. So math is a truth. Like you cannot get around. You cannot get around. It's inarguable truth whenever it comes to certain math. Once it's proven, so it's almost a language of us trying to speak how literally everything works in some weird.
I have one water bottle, and when I put that next to another water bottle, 1 + 1 = 2. Math is the language describing what just happened.
Right.
It's a way to quantify that without you experiencing it. You don't have to see these water bottles and see it happen if we just have the language. If I just tell you 1 + 1 = 2.
It's the language that we have had to come up with that is trying to figure out all of this. And math is fairly fucking sound. Like you talk about, man, you can argue politics, philosophy, math, or even science. You can argue science. Math is pretty fucking
stone.
solid.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
We discover new stuff with it. We do discover new stuff, but in general, that water bottle, until something crazy happens and we're in the 4th or 5th dimension and we realize that you can merge them together in different alternate realities or some crazy shit like that.
1 + 1 will always be 2.
Right now in the world we live in, 1 + 1 is 2.
Within the dimensions that we live in a 3-dimensional world. Math is very necessary to set up things in this dimension. So, like, you can't build a house without understanding, like, length, width, and
Height
And height. You need
or
that
depth, whatever you want to.
length, width, height, to be able to create something in this dimension. It's literally describing things within our dimension, and it's the language to it, which I was never good at.
I'm a nerd.
But
I love math.
To me,
math's fucking amazing. I've just never been
I
good
think
at it.
math, like basic math to me, like whenever I hear that question, I think like basic math, and I know math can be very complex, but I think basic math is almost common sense in the society that we live in. To me, it's just common sense. Like
I think Jesse put it best by saying that it's a language. Honestly,
Yeah,
I think you could
it
end it
is.
right there. Math is
it's
the language of
Yeah, it is.
physical of what's
That's the
happening.
best way. So I'm going to move on to I have 2 more questions, and then we'll end the podcast. Is there inherent order in nature, or is it all chaos and chance?
Ooh. I've actually heard this argument before, order versus chaos and chaos out of order and all that kind of stuff. I don't... Man, this is going to sound so like... This is going to be such a cop-out answer, but I'm just giving my real answer of what I believe. I think that it's both simultaneously. I think that you get chaos out of order. When you plan stuff out and stuff happens based on, like, you put an acorn in the ground, it's going to grow into an oak tree kind of thing, or it's got a chance, a high probability of growing into an oak tree with the right conditions. But at the exact same time, you have chaos that can come into play that completely changes stuff around. Like, it's, I don't know. You just have both in a balance, in my view.
Yeah, no, it's literally descriptive words of. I think those
words exist because we have both. Chaos and order literally happen simultaneously. We experience both of those things every day.
So in order for life to even be happening, we need both, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think, like, the question to me, I think that there's order in nature just whenever you break it down on a microscopic level and you see how intertwined we all are when it comes to the realm that we live in, that it is inherently there's order.
There is an order there.
There is order also in the chaos too. I think because like it just happens. That's such a weird question. I don't know.
I think we have both, and it just depends on your definition of those two things.
But you almost need the chaos to have the order too, because if there's nothing chaotic, nothing unknown. So talk about chaos in the sense of an unknowing and an unknown variable, then order needs to be placed too. But also you cannot, if everything is just ordered and straightforward, it's
there's no experience, there's no
there's nothing. You literally need the balance between the two.
I like that.
You should read The Giver.
Great
I've
book.
read The Giver, yeah. That's a good book.
I don't know why. Your order and chaos thing made me think of that. It's probably not the best definition of that because it's about something completely different than that.
Right.
But I don't know why. Jesse talking about how you need chaos, you need difference.
So the giver, there's no difference. Everyone's the same.
It's almost inherent that even as human beings, we need both. We need both heavily, even on an emotional level.
I think right now in our current state,
a life without chaos is boring.
Mm-hmm.
True, but
a life without a little bit of chaos is.
But a life without order is unlivable.
No, then you cannot live without security. So you're talking about security and all. Man, you could really get into that.
2020 would be chaos, all chaos.
And then you get into we can move on to the next question.
Yeah, last question, and then we will end the podcast. There has always been something. Before there was something, there was only nothing. Which do you think is more likely?
This is what people get wrong the most, in my opinion. And this is a very personal thing for me, is that we think of nothing as not having consciousness. Nothing is very much important. Like, so you almost need the inverse to everything. So weird living life and then realizing, like we even talked about with that last question before this one, chaos and order. You almost need them both. So whenever you talk about nothing, it's so abstract to us because all we are is something. So it's literally the idea of just pitch black nothingness. And how could you ever be without also having the inverse of that? So that's my standpoint on we look at nothingness as this some dismal, awful fucking thing, but without it, how could we ever know that we are where we are now? You know, without the absolutely non-existence, how can you have existence? Unless you had the inverse to fucking apply it to. That's why people are so afraid of death, because you're so worried about what's at, like literally nothing, even though that's all where we came from. It's so weird. Such a spiritual experience is thinking that, man, I wasn't up until January 23rd of 1991, and then I was. But all of everything that's happened was nothing to me. There is nothing. It's not even blackness. It's just nothing. And then now I am. So to try to combat that, I don't know. Maybe I'm going off on a weird thing. I don't know if that's the answer that you wanted there.
But, I'm not. There's never an answer to any of these. I'm just curious what your answer is.
So that's my thing. So you always need that inverse to it. And people are so afraid of that nothingness. And actually, that's where we came from. My consciousness right now literally came. The only example that I have is that I came from nothing. I came from this nothingness.
When you're talking about from your consciousness, from your perspective.
Yes, my perspective, my being, who I am right now.
It's true. It did come from. Well, yeah. I mean, it came from your mom and your dad.
Well, dude.
So that's my next question.
You keep rolling it back. So
hold
you
on,
keep rolling it back.
So hold on.
I was like, I wanted to answer this.
Yeah. So go ahead, Johnny.
Because the question said, was there always something, or was there nothing before, kind of thing? I don't think that there was ever. Not talking about Jesse's, because Jesse's right. From your perspective, from our own consciousness and perspective, there was a nothing. But as far as like the universe goes and stuff, I actually agree with the first part of that, and I think that there was always something. Because, and people would be like, what about the Big Bang, if you believe in the Big Bang? What was there before the Big Bang? Well, in theory, if the Big Bang created everything, that would include time and our perception of time. So you can't say there was nothing before the Big Bang, because by saying the word before, you're talking about time. You know what I mean? Like, you can't use the word before if time didn't exist yet. I think there was always something.
Man, you're talking about such a difficult thing to wrap our heads around. But whenever I think about it, and I do, and Alan Watts gets it right. I recommend anybody.
I do not like Alan Watts.
Which is fine. Alan Watts would hug the shit out of you and have
I have no problem with Alan Watts as an individual. I don't believe in the stuff that he talks about.
Okay, but the idea that, oh man, that there is nothing shouldn't be that difficult for us. Why is it so difficult for us? Where did you come from? You came from nothing.
It came from your parents.
Okay, yeah, but scroll it back, and it's so outside of our own mind, what we consider nothing. At some point, at least me, I can't speak for everybody else, but we came from that nothingness too. And it's this balance between it all.
Unless reincarnation is real, but I know that's a separate subject.
I think that my answer. I think there was always something. I think something has always existed.
So and sorry, this will be my last question because I actually wrote down my own philosophical question the other night, and is your consciousness special to each person? Like, is our own consciousness
very much so?
And can you only have that conscious based upon the birth that we were a part of with our parents?
Oh man!
Or can you have the obviously not live the same life? That's not what I'm getting at. Can you be born a separate time with the same conscious that we have right now?
You talking about reincarnation?
No. Let's just say my parents didn't have sex the day that they had sex to have me.
Mm-hmm.
They waited 5 more years, they had sex, and then is there a possibility that my consciousness, and I know this is a really tough question.
No, it changes. I know what you're asking. It changes everything.
Could be. Well, I'm not saying that I would live the same life. I'm not saying that at all. But could my consciousness still be born, or is it that one chance? Is it that one opportunity? When you know what I'm saying?
I think really what you're driving at is, are you special? At the core of that, because we're very privileged to be alive and to be able to experience this world. And is your shit special so much to where Paul Weiss's mind, like, if your parents didn't do what they did, would your embodiment of yourself still be somewhere else?
Right.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I want to say no, because this is that thing called ego, where we push so hard to where we're like, oh man, I have this right, and I'm such this shining light on the fucking world, when it's not the case. We are very blessed to be where we are right now.
So your consciousness only has one chance. Obviously, in the chance that we all got, we took that chance. Obviously, we didn't know what we were doing. Maybe we did. I don't know how that process. I mean, I know how you know what I'm saying.
I almost think you mean the word.
Weird,
I almost feel like you mean soul instead of consciousness.
Maybe, yeah.
Because your consciousness is just your perception
shit.
of.
Man,
Right.
that's the same shit.
It is.
Because
No, it's different though. Your consciousness is a scientific and like chemical thing.
Whenever you talk about it religiously, well, first of all, whenever you talk about it religiously, is people think of their consciousness as their soul, because whenever they want to go to heaven, they're holding on to themselves going to fucking heaven. And also people who go to hell, right? Oh, a piece of them now goes to an eternal place. I don't believe that's how that works. But that's what people are holding on to, their ego. Like, somewhere of their ego goes somewhere else and continues. And I think that this is such a flawed mentality, because like I said before with previous questions, I think that we came from nothing and we will also go to it. And there is nothing wrong with that. This is just how it goes. But no, so we get caught up in like pride and ego. Like, my shit's so important and I'm so special in this, and I need to make sure that I continue on. Like, and you came from nothing. I don't know.
No, I did. Yeah, I was literally in bed and I thought that, and I was like, "Fuck, man! I just want to write this down and ask you guys on the podcast." So
I can't remember who said it. There's a quote, super old quote kind of thing, that talks about every person has. Let's say you don't believe in heaven and hell. Let's say you believe what Jesse believes, which is you came from nothing, and eventually you will be nothing. Every person has 2 deaths. You have when you actually die, and then you have the death of who you were as a person, meaning once everybody's forgotten, you have no legacy. There's no statues of you. Nobody ever speaks your name
Fuck
again.
a legacy.
No, just let me finish what I'm saying.
Sorry.
Because after you're dead, Paul, you have God forbid, whatever. Anyways, after you're dead, people will still speak your name. Your kids, your grandchildren, whatever. There will be stuff after you. Maybe you leave behind some kind of legacy, even if it's not something you want to do. You leave behind thought press. But eventually, one day, maybe it's 1,000 years from now, eventually one day, people will not know anything. Not a single individual on the planet will know anything of Paul Weiss or will ever speak the name again.
we'll always be on YouTube, man.
No, but no, one day that
I know-
goes too.
I know what you're saying.
The
One day
Earth
that
blows
goes
up.
too.
Right.
Aliens
For
watch
sure.
our shit. And
No, I
then
get it.
how do those aliens actually, fucking maybe they go out and then that information dies. So you're talking about a full. There is no memory of you whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so difficult for human beings.
That's like the movie Coco. That's how
I haven't seen Coco.
Well, it's like how Hispanics are people from Mexico that whenever it's called
Dia de los Muertos.
Yes,
The Day of the Dead.
Yeah. If there's no more pictures and no one remembers them, that's when they fully die.
I love that movie.
Yeah, they go into.
But that's been a
movie.
conversation. That's what I was saying. When everybody has two deaths, you
Yeah.
have your physical death and you have the death of your quote unquote
Persona.
legacy or your persona or
Yeah.
your memory.
I get that.
Eventually, there will be nobody that has any knowledge of that you ever were,
Yeah,
I almost
and that's okay. That's part of life.
yeah.
I've thought about getting that. It's weird for me to say fuck a legacy because I almost wanted to have that tattooed on me at one point, just for a reminder of what your actual meaning in all this is. Because if you're going out for a legacy and if you're trying to be remembered, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
You're talking about an egotistical legacy.
Yes.
Though. You can have
Yeah.
a good legacy, Jesse. You can pass on good things to your children. That's your legacy.
I think, but as far as me getting it tattooed on my own body, it's almost like putting it in check on my own mentality.
I get what
that,
you're saying.
Man, I don't.
But when you say fuck a legacy,
Because
I understand.
I've been egotistical.
I understand
so
what
much
you're
in my
talking
life.
about. Fucking
Like,
egotistical legacy. I'm talking about you still have the legacy of if you have kids and you want them to be better than you. That's part of your legacy. Even if you don't want a legacy, that is part of your legacy.
Yeah.
Is your
100%.
children doing
Okay.
better than you?
Okay, let me rephrase it. So, in how I view things, that we're all interconnected and all a part of this. It's not my legacy. Like fuck a legacy of me.
Yeah.
It's everybody's interjoined one.
The betterment
You know
of
what
just
I mean?
humans in
it's
general.
It's not so much about me. It's about everybody intertwined with it. Which is I still want to get fuck a legacy tattooed on me somewhere.
Do it, man.
But
We'll end it right there. Another great podcast by Talk Junkies, man. Hopefully you guys feel the same way. And if you feel the same way, man, hit that like button. Because when you hit that button, it does something to Google's algoritms that maybe they'll recommend
all about
us.
it. They're all about it.
Yeah, maybe Google recommend.
we should start telling people to
YouTube.
unsubscribe to us. No, just kidding. Don't do that.
But
Paul works too hard for that shit.
no, we all do. We all do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to all our junkies out there.
Stay fly and ring the bell.
Ding ding ding.